You know, you look at it and it's, you know, you start with JMU and at home, and then we go down to South Florida and Tampa, and that's never easy to play down there. I've done that a few times. You know, we got West Virginia here at home, and then go up to Syracuse. Then we come back, we go back out to Indiana for the Big Ten opener, and then we got an easy one to open up the Big Ten in Ohio State. So, and then we get a week off, which is good. So we play 6, we get a bye week, and then we got Iowa at home, which is a tough physical football team. Then we go out to Wisconsin and play them on the road, which is a tough venue to play in. And then play Penn State up there. Then we get a week off. And then got Michigan State at home on Big Ten Network, 8 o'clock at night. And then Michigan out at the Big House, and end up with Rutgers. So when you're playing in a conference with yourselves, Rutgers, Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan, Michigan State, and Indiana, you know, you sleep very well at night. You know, you don't worry about anything. But that's one of the things that I think is great. That's one of the things that's helped us with recruiting to attract the class that we did for this that came in this year. We've got 16 commitments already for 2015 class. A lot of that is because of the exposure and the competition that we're going to be playing against. And when you can play against that competition, you have the opportunity to play in the Rose Bowl and other bowls in California, Texas, Florida, New York, Detroit, and be seen all over the world on the Big Ten Network, so you don't have to watch us play on the computer anymore. You know, it's neat, and it's neat to feel and see the enthusiasm not only do our players have, but the enthusiasm of the recruits that we're dealing with. So I know this. I'm excited. I can't wait for it to get here. And you know, I've had an opportunity to coach or play in a lot of those venues, and I know it'll be something for our kids that they'll really enjoy. And but like I said, it was the best move for the institution from an academic standpoint, and also from an athletic standpoint, and in terms of the dollars that it's going to generate. And then when you look at the level of competition and everything else, it was just too much for our administration to turn down. So I know there's a lot of history and roots here in this room with people in the ACC, but again, moving forward, this is something that was too good to pass up. So if anybody's got any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer any of them, if I can.
We're going to get, hold on, we're getting this microphone ready. Tell me when, Dave. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Okay.
I wanted to ask you something. When you took the Maryland job, there's no question that ACC football, as you leave the conference, is a lot better than it was 15, 18 years ago. But now, the difference in the level that you're going to be playing in, is that something, I know it's something you're excited about, but is it something that you would have foreseen when you took this job 3.5 years ago?
Well, when you take a look at expansion and everything else, the ACC got better in football when they brought Virginia Tech, they brought Miami, and they brought those teams into the conference. And that made those other schools get better. And now, you know, as we leave the ACC and go into the Big Ten, I think, my own personal opinion, I've been doing this for 30 years and studying it, there's just so much more balance and from top to bottom in the Big Ten than there was in terms of the ACC. And again, when you take a look at the history and the tradition, and I know that the Big Ten hadn't won a national championship in a while, but still, when you take a look at those, the history and the competition, and they beat each other up so much, that's the problem in the Big Ten.
Coach, Bruce Posner, Terptalk.
You know, Coach, it's funny, even when I walked into here today, there's a fear that we're not going to be competitive in the Big Ten, which I don't believe for 1 second. And when you look at the history of the Big Ten against the skilled teams, it's not that great. Their record is not that great. They haven't done well against the bowl teams. What do you fear the most about playing the Big Ten teams? And tell everybody here, we're going to be competitive.
Well, again, it's one of those things where I think, last year we had some injuries, the year before, and now you got to have depth and you got to have experience, and we have that. When you have depth and experience, it's going to give you the opportunity to compete against anybody. And when you have an experienced quarterback that we have, but again, I just firmly believe in our players in terms of the athleticism, that we have and the skill level that we have. I mean, I just look, when you take a look at our offensive skill players, and start with the quarterback and then the running backs, the receivers, I mean, who do you take away? And what do you do? If you want to single up some people, you got some mismatches there. If you want to double guys, now you got people who can run the ball and make things happen. You got a quarterback when you go back there, that can run around and use his feet, has a good enough arm and has the weapons to go there. And then, defensively, we've been solid and have been able to take advantage of things. And I think we got guys there that can make plays and guys that can come off there. Where we're not, what we've got to be able to do is utilize our skill, because we're not as big up front maybe as some of the teams that we're going to be playing. But again, that's where we've got to be able to take advantage of the athleticism and the skill level that we have to offset those things.
I've got Till Strudwick here, who's got a question for you, Coach.
Coach, how's recruiting against the ACC and Big Ten? Are the athletes different than you recruited against the ACC and Big Ten?
Well, I think what has happened is that going to the Big Ten, it's opened us up to more athletes and more of the top athletes because of the perception, of the Big Ten, of the exposure with the Big Ten. I mean, we had a function here at the end of June where we had we called it the Big Show, and invited, and kids came in from all over. We had some of the top players in the country that came in. Now that didn't happen before, the first couple of years ago. And because of what we're doing, and also because of facilities that we are going to end up putting on campus for football, these kids see that, and then they also see that what this area can do for them for life after football, and the things that we do in our program to help them prepare for that. So it's opened up a whole new avenue for us, and I can just tell you in terms of the exposure, the Big Ten Network in the springtime, they did more on us this past spring, covering spring practice, than the ACC did in the 3 years that I've been here in the spring. I mean, we got nothing, from the ACC. And the great thing is you watch the Big Ten Network started in August. They take their talent and they come and set up shop at each school for like a day or a day and a half. They're going to be at our campus. We'll be practicing. They'll be live on TV right from our practice. That's never happened before. And so when you take a look at that exposure, that's what kids like that. They want to be part of that. And this way their family can see that, even though they might be traveling a distance to get here.
Coach, I got Wayne Viner here, and then I've got a question or two for you. And then raise your hands and we'll get to a bunch of you, okay? So raise your hands if you have a question. Wayne Viner.
Coach, we've been hearing through social media rave reviews of your offensive line coach, Coach Studd, and of Keenan McCardle, who you brought in. What makes them such great fits for your program, and why do the kids seem to love them so much on the recruiting side?
Well, we had two guys on my previous staff that got head jobs, Greg Gattuso at Albany, and then Lee Hall at Morgan State. And then, had the opportunity to bring people in, and we went through an exhaustive process to do that. Studd is one of those guys, all you football fans, I mean, he's just your typical offensive line coach. He's one of those guys that's, gets after the kids. He's very good from a technical standpoint. The kids play hard for him. They relate to him. He has great experience in terms of being an offensive coordinator. at Bowling Green, been a line coach his whole life, and then was an offensive coordinator, line coach at LSU. He's just got this way about him. His personality is such, but he's a very good technician, and really understands. And the other good thing is too, is he's going to be great for Mike Loxley, the offensive coordinator, because he has experience in this type of an offense. So, and he's been a coordinator in this type of an offense. So that's an added bonus, for us as well. Keenan's a guy that I got to know when we were with the Jaguars, and he was a player and I was a coach, and I was a DB coach, and I hated him because I got yelled at in staff meetings from Tom Coughlin because he was beating the DBs all the time. So, but he's a guy that's just a true professional. Played 17 years in the league, and I just felt when I had the opportunity to go and hire a receiver coach, I said, I got to find somebody that kind of has that experience in the NFL. He's coached in the NFL as well because of the young men that we had with Stephon, Dion, and all the other guys. And those guys listen to everything that he says because not only do they want to get a degree, but they want to make sure that they have the opportunity to go to the next level. Well, you got a guy like that who's played 17 years, knows how to do it, they're going to listen. And then, we're very fortunate that was able to hire Chad Will, our defensive line coach. And I interviewed 6 guys for that position, guys that had NFL experience, were NFL coaches. And Chad was the last guy that I interviewed. And when I interviewed him and then the defensive coaches, he just blew everybody else out of the water. And he got done interviewing, the coaches looked at me and they said, Coach, that's the guy we got to hire. And he's just very enthusiastic. He's young. As a matter of fact, I think he's getting married today. And he's on his honeymoon. He gets married, then he's got to come back for that and start work on. He's in for the office for 2.5 days on Monday. But he's just a great technician, very enthusiastic, very energetic. So we did a really good job of getting some really good guys.
Coach, I've got, go ahead, Wayne.
Yell it out.
Did I see that Chad Wilt was recruiting in Canada for you guys?
No, social media, it's great and it's awful. But no.
Can you repeat the question, Coach?
He just said that Chad Wilt was recruiting in Canada. What we do is this. We have each guy, we assign a coach an area. And so, Lyndon Johnson and Keith Kaczynski, they do the things in Canada. But what we did, we were so far ahead of the curve with recruiting in terms of our evaluation before we went out in April, when we were allowed to go out from April 15th to the end of May. We always had the coach that was recruiting the kid. We had 2 opportunities to go. One would go, the coach that recruited would go see him, and then the position coach would go see him. So we're recruiting some defensive linemen up in Canada, and so then what happens is all of our coaches, not only do they recruit their area, but they also recruit the guys at their position. So who are back and forth with them. That's the great thing about social media and how you can get in touch with people and everything else, and you develop those relationships, because it's responsibility of the recruiting coach to find the kids. But then what happens is the players and even us, we want to make sure we develop a relationship between the position coach and the player.
Coach,